The Detroit Pistons get outmatched by the Chicago Bulls. It was actually a pretty good game. It was a competitive game. And then I think towards the end, the Bulls pull ahead by merely having the bigger guns. They had Zach LaVine, who was able to turn it on, and Detroit didn't have an answer. But I want to dive into that. I also want to dive into the return of Asar Thompson after this message. This video was brought to you by Bridges and Stone's Family and Relationship Care. You know, mental health is becoming the new flex. Get the support you need to get your relationships and life in order and enjoy the life that you deserve. Contact Bridges and Stones for your free consultation and talk with a trained professional to support you in getting your life right. The link is in the description box below. Remember, none of us make it alone. You know, when I watched this game, I would have to say I'm really impressed with the Detroit Pistons and how they have sustained this style of play. Really kind of frenetic hustle, really kind of dogged effort of an approach. They move the ball offensively multiple times, kind of hot potato it. They get the ball moving from side to side. They're looking for their shooters, running them off the screens. Duran is doing a great job of setting off-ball screens along with Tobias Harris. I know Tobias hasn't had the most efficient shooting offense this early part of the season, but he's doing so many other things that I think get overlooked, such as freeing up a lot of these shooters like Malik Beasley, Tim Hardaway Jr., off these cross actions, off these pin downs, and just doing a fabulous job. And so for the most part, that is how this team stays in the game. Getting up a lot of threes, knocking down their fair share. But there's kind of a major flaw. Yes, I will call it a major flaw, that this is a really, really, really small Detroit Pistons team. And when I say small, I mean positionally small. They are small in girth, in physicality. And when I've been watching this early start for the Detroit Pistons, which I think for a lot of us has been a revelation. We did not think that they would have been a game within 500. Now they're two back. But it's to say that this start has been tremendous for a lot of us. But I never thought it was sustainable. And I explained it before that when you have guys who buy in to a style of play that they are not traditionally prone to, they eventually taper off. They eventually settle back to who they've been. And Malik Beasley and Tim Hardaway Jr. have never been great defenders. Cade Cunningham I don't think he's ever going to be a great defender. Jaden Ivey is becoming a great defender. And I want to use the term great. And that has been highly impressive. But Tobias Harris has never been a great defender. And I don't think Jalen Duran is ever going to be a great defender. All that is to say is that when teams begin to take the Detroit Pistons seriously, because now they're looking up at them in the standings, now it is something to beat them. Now there is some added motivation with the added parity because of a lot of the injuries in the NBA, and teams are really scrounging to position themselves because they understand that these wins and losses are going to add up in March and April, and they have to start getting these wins, which means that the Detroit Pistons become low-hanging fruit that coaches are going to begin to emphasize to ensure that they bring their best game. If I'm honest with you, I do not think that the Detroit Pistons have been getting other teams' best game. Other teams have walked into their building, taking them for granted. They've come into other teams' building, being taken for granted. And they've jumped all over them with their effort, their energy, their doggedness, ability to get up into you and mix it up. While knocking down a bunch of threes and having some really good talents in Cade and Ivey to kind of like buoy that offense and to, be that engine, which has been a great recipe until the better teams start taking them seriously. You see, it's one thing to have a team that's out hustling you and they're just as talented as you. That can put you over the edge. That can put them over the edge. But when they're not as talented as you, look, let's be clear. Right now, Jalen Duran is not better than Nikola Vucevic, mainly because Nikola Vucevic is taller, he's more experienced, he's more skilled right now. He understands this game. And so when he takes Jalen Duren seriously and goes at him from the start of the game and gets a quick 5 points, knocking down his first shot from the 3 point line, knowing that Jalen Duren struggles to close out on the 3 point line, it tells you something that they were watching film, that they understand Jalen Duren struggles to contain on the perimeter, to close out on shooting stretch bigs, right? Like they're following a specific scheme to exploit the mismatches and the advantages that they have over the Pistons, which means that their doggedness now, their hustle, that effort is probably only going to be good enough to keep them in games. They're going to need another gear. And I think that other gear is going to be Asar Thompson. I really appreciate that JB Bickerstaff has uh, seems to have communicated to Cade Cunningham, stop trying to bring the ball up the court when a guy is pressing you full court. One, it limits the flow of the offense. It really just sticks him in the mud. Two, you have plenty of other options of guys who can initiate the offense, and it's better for Cade to let go of that ball, get down the court, come off of a screen, and get the ball back in the half court set on the move than it is for him to try to take, 15 to 20 dribbles up the court, get turned 5 times, and then what happens many times is he makes a sloppy pass, just trying to get the ball out of his hands, and it gets turned over at least 1 to 2 or more times a game. And so he's, doing a better job, just getting it immediately, sees that they're pressing him full court, gets it to Duren. Duren brings it up, initiates offense 4-on-4, which actually plays into the advantage of the Detroit Pistons. I'm glad JB Bickerstaff got that point across. The next thing is they need an ace, a big-time wing defender to stick on to guys like Zach LaVine. Something that I was concerned about for Jaden Ivey is becoming a two-way player is something of a mental, and I say becoming because if you haven't been that, you don't necessarily understand how much energy you're expending. When you look at Drew Holiday and the work that he does defensively, right? When you look at guys in the past like Ron Artest, when you look at guys who have been great defensive players, it takes a toll offensively. And to maximize a great defensive player, many times you need to put other really high-level defensive players around them so they're not constantly expending so much energy to anchor the defense. Jaden Ivey, I think we're recognizing right now, is needed to be that second engine of the offense. Cade Cunningham is able to get off, but sometimes Jaden Ivey is not. And in this game, he was not. He was able to get some points, but he only got about halfway to where they needed him to be. They need Cade and Ivey over 20, both of them, for the Pistons to win games. And that means that Jaden Ivey cannot only be the point of attack defender, the best on-ball defender, really the best defender in that starting lineup anymore. He needs Asar Thompson. He needs Asar to be that point of attack from time to time, to be that disruptor on the perimeter, to be the guy that covers a lot for others, to be the guy who gets in those passing lanes, getting those weak side shot blocks and those loose ball rebounds. We saw there was a critical rebound where I think it was in the fourth quarter where the ball caromed off the rim and Cade and Ivey both kind of sat there and watched the ball drop. Look, I played a little, JUCO ball, and I remember we used to do this drill where we had to do this rebounding drill, and the ball was not allowed to touch the floor. Because as you get to higher levels, you're athletic enough, but you just have to switch it on mentally to react to the ball the moment it comes off the rim. And everyone at that level and higher is athletic enough to get to the ball before it hits the floor. But it's a mental responsiveness. It is a decision that is internalized, so you just react. And both Cade and Ivey paused because it's a lot. It's a lot of energy. It is a lot of effort to be that responsive and to be the engines of your offense. And I think that this is the next step for this team, is to get Asar Thompson back in the starting lineup, to get that ace defender, that high-level defender who can truly lock down on the perimeter. Down the stretch of this game, they had Malik Beasley on Zach LaVine. Look, I love Malik Beasley's effort, but he's 6'3" on a good day, right? And maybe with shoes, he's barely 6'4". Zach LaVine is 6'5" and 3/4 without shoes. 6'6" solid in shoes. And he's got a probably now only maybe a 35-inch vertical from his 41-inch vertical that he came into the league with. And we saw that on display. That when Zach LaVine wanted to raise up and get his shot, Tobias Harris is too old and too slow. Malik Beasley is too short and too slow. And they had absolutely no answer for him. He hit, I believe it was 4 or 5 threes in the fourth quarter, just pulling up over guys. I guarantee you, he's not pulling up over Asar Thompson. He's not pulling up in his face. In fact, it delays the action because the first thing he's probably going to do is ask for a screen to get Asar off of him in order to get that shot off. And that allows you more options as a defense to either trap and force Zach LaVine to make a good pass, which he's not the best at doing, or it allows you to at least slow down their ability to get into the sets that they want down the stretch of games. Now, on top of that, I would have to say that I also think they need to figure out how to free up Cade Cunningham. Cade is really good. Don't get me wrong. He's only going to get better. And I think his better is also going to be getting stronger because he has to find a way to punish guys. I know that he's getting to the post more, which I really appreciate. But right now, when he gets somebody like a Patrick Williams on him and he's isolated, he doesn't seem to know what his go-to is against a guy who's bigger, longer, and more athletic and more physical. And I know that's a lot of things. Bigger, right? Longer, more athletic, and more physical. Right? When he sees those defenders, and it's strange to see that as a 6'6" point guard, that there are guys who are going to be bigger, stronger, longer, and more athletic. But that's the reality of the NBA today. You have the Paul Georges and the Kawhi Leonards, right? You have the Herb Jones. You have the Franz Wagners, and you're going to have a bunch of guys who are bigger, stronger, longer, and more athletic. And I think that the JB Bickerstaff is going to have to figure out a way to immediately, when Cade sees that type of defender on him, he's going into a particular action. He's not trying to take them off dribble because I think at times the offense gets bogged down with him trying to figure out how to get past this guy. He doesn't know if he should post him up. He doesn't know if he can break him down off the dribble. And it just kind of bogs down the offense. And so these are a couple tweaks, but I think the big adjustment, like I said from the very beginning, what the outlook of this team is going to be is their defense that is able to lead to offense and that is going to supercharge their transition offense with Asar Thompson and Jaden Ivey flying up and down the wings, much like you see Amen Thompson and Tari Eason doing in Houston. Now, I'm about to do a video on some comparisons in a little bit. All this to say is the Detroit Pistons dropped this game to the Bulls. The Bulls outlasted them, outplayed them. Right now, they're technically kind of a better team. They got more talent. And in this game, they showed a lot of hustle, a lot of physicality and defense to match that of the Detroit Pistons. And so they dropped this game. But I think they're going to get back on the wagon. I'm looking forward to seeing the return of Asar Thompson. But as always, I want to know what you all think. What do you guys think the reasons were that the Detroit Pistons dropped this game? How do you think this team is going to look once Asar Thompson gets back? As always, if you enjoyed the video, like, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications, and get at me in the comment section. Share the video, and I'm going to get at y'all in the comment sections too. Peace.